So a very big welcome to Pennine Ham Amateur Radio Club and to all our members and friends in the room here tonight with us. And of course, a very big hello to those watching us live on YouTube and also to those who are watching the YouTube video later in the week. We're carrying on tonight with a follow-up to a wonderful evening we had a few months ago, led by Mike and Adriana there in Germany, DL1BJW and DL8BDT, talking us through having QSOs in German and the kind of language skills we might need in German to be very friendly with German radio amateurs and try and communicate with people in their own language. That was a great evening. So we're following it on tonight with two of our members who've offered to do the same thing as Mike and Adriana. I'm sure not with the same level of skill as they did, but I have to say, even though I like Jeff and Ken an awful lot, but Mike and Adriana, that was an extremely impressive evening. So I'm ready to be impressed by Jeff and Ken here. Jeff, of course, in Belgium, lives in a wonderful country with two large populations speaking two different languages in their own country, and surrounded, of course, on the one hand, bordering with Belgium, bordering with the Netherlands, and bordering with Germany. So if we've and of course Liechtenstein, and of course if we've got anyone in Europe who has got good language skills, it's going to be someone from Belgium, Jeff. So big welcome to Jeff, and a big welcome to Ken, G4VZV from South Yorkshire. And Ken, as members of our club will know, but not necessarily viewers on YouTube or people watching this video. But Ken goes across to Spain very regularly, owns a small property out there, and operates radio there from the Salt Lagoons. Sure, he'd be happy to talk to you about that. But we've put up some of his videos on our YouTube channel and has amazing DX working from Spain. But from all his time spent in Spain, he's picked up a great deal of very good spoken Spanish. So he offered to do this evening on Spanish. So what we're going to do tonight is two things really. We're going to start off with a little presentation by Jeff, and Jeff is going to invite people to take part in some exercises based on his presentation. So hopefully we'll have at least one volunteer, possibly more, prepared to give it a go with Jeff. And then we'll move on to Ken doing similar with the Spanish language and doing some exercises as well for those that want to have a go at speaking in Spanish. So just before we get there, I pulled out of my library this book, which was produced as a kind of pamphlet size in 1980 by two amateurs from Finland, Jukka OH1BR and Micah OH2BAD. OH2BAD, unfortunately, is now a silent key, but Jukka is still around. And they produced this book, printed it in Helsinki in 1980. And they appealed for some support in the UK, and they got support from Laurie Margulis, G3UML, who worked until very recently as a journalist at the BBC for many years. And so Laurie helped them in the publication of this and helped them with the English language to go along with the other languages that they were putting across in that conversation guide. And that conversation guide included German and French and Italian and Spanish and Portuguese and Russian, and also phonetic Russian, because people be aware that the Cyrillic alphabet looks completely different from the alphabets that we're used to in the other languages. But so they had Russian in a phonetic language as well. And they also included Japanese as well, although just one version of the spoken Japanese is in there too. So that was their guide, and I thoroughly, when I first got into a lot of HF work on single sideband in the 80s, I really enjoyed that and really enjoyed that conversation guide. So on the chat for the meeting tonight in the chat room, I've put together a compilation of all the material, and I'm just going to put this on the screen so people can. So I circulate this in the Amateur Radio Club WhatsApp group, but I've put together a PDF file which has got in it the following documents: the presentation notes from Jeff ON8NT tonight, the notes from Ken EA5 stroke G4VZV, a copy of the Radio Amateurs Conversation Guide, so a PDF file of that. And also there were 3 articles written in Practical Wireless in 1993 on Spanish for radio amateurs, and there were 2 on French for radio amateurs also in 1993. So I've attached the Practical Wirelesses for those that have got those articles in for 1993, so people can have a look at those articles as well. So they're all together in one file. If we've got viewers on YouTube who would like to receive a copy of that, then drop the Amateur Radio Club Pennine Ham an email, and you'll find that on our website. So if you just search for Pennine Ham on Google or type in pennineham.org.uk, you'll find the club website. Drop us an email, and we'll send you a copy of the club notes on French and Spanish with all those documents contained inside it. So they're there for you to take away and use if you find that helpful. So that's all I want to say by way of introduction, and I'm going to hand over first of all to our member Jeff in Belgium, ON8NT. Jeff, je passe le micro.
Okay, very good evening or very good day to you, Bob, there in the States. Nice to have you all here, and today we will have it about French. I must say, and it's not my mother tongue. French is not my mother tongue. Dutch Flemish is my mother tongue, but from the age of 10 years, we had to learn French in school, and I must confess that I was not a good student in languages. But nevertheless, I'm married, my XYL is actually educated into French. So if I make a QSO in French, which happens a lot actually on 40 meters, after that QSO, my XYL is always there to say, well, you have to say that in that way, or you have to say that in another way. So I'm not perfect by no means, but I just practiced a little bit with her this afternoon. So we will go to the presentation and share the screen. To start off. And first of all, you could ask, why French? Why should I learn French? Well, if we put a look to the map of the world, you will see that there are a lot of French-speaking stations around there. And we as DXers, as radio amateurs, there are a lot of interesting DXCC countries there, like especially in Africa. Those in red, those are all French-speaking countries. By the way, the map is not absolutely 100% correct, but anyway, we will not discuss about, certain things. And they forgot, for example, Monaco, Andorra, Corsica, and even Luxembourg, which is also French-speaking. Those are all DXCC countries. And if we go to the map of what the French call les départements d'outre-mer et territoires d'outre-mer, which are their overseas departments and territories, you can see that, and I will make that a little bit smaller, you see that you have all those DXCC countries for us that you can work, like Wallis and Fortuna, New Caledonia, Antarctica, French Southern and Antarctica lands, as they call it, Reunion, Mayotte, Saint-Pierre and Miquelon, Saint-Barthélemy, Saint-Martin, Guadeloupe, Martinique, French Guiana, Clipperton Island, famous destination, French Polynesia. So you see there is a good reason to learn some French, to learn to have some French, because I believe in a pilot, if you can give your call in French, Oscar November 8 November Tango, that French-speaking station there, although he might be operating into English, that he probably will come back to you. So your chances are simply bigger, I think, to work a station. Yes, some things to know. In French, they use vous, you, vous, formal and polite, and not tu, and formal. If they know you very well, you will probably tutoyer, like the French say. You will call each other or speak with each other with tu. But normally, in a normal QSO, especially if you don't know the guy very well, the best thing is to use vous. And the French often use the pronoun on, instead of nous. On est en train de discuter. That's more informal and takes the same verb endings as il et elle, he and she. So that's just as a short introduction. So try to be polite, try to use vous, and try to use on. Just as a background information, the French have some special characters. You can see them here, accent aigu, accent grave, tout ça. And this is the accepted practice that they are using in France. And this is the ERU, the International Amateur Radio Union Morse equivalent, which is more or less the same, but it differs on certain issues. And by the way, if you are using digital modes like RTTY or like JSA call or any other keyboard-to-keyboard digital mode, you can use those to use the accent aigu, the E accent aigu, accent grave, les autres, and the other signs. So this is just as a background information. So how will I going to tackle this? Well, first of all, we will speak a little bit about numbers, because in a pilot or in a contest, you can most of the QSO is actually exchanging numbers. So if you know the numbers, you can take part in a contest or in a pilot. So we will go briefly through the numbers, and I will read some of them. So we begin with 0, which is not on the list, but 0, which is null, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 11, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and from there on it's becoming normal, you know, it's 17, 17, 18, 18, and so on. And then, of course, you have 70, 70 is 70, 80 is 80, 4 times 20, actually, that's what it says, 4 times 20, and 90 is 4 times 20 plus 10, 90, yeah? And then you have 100, 100 watts, and 1000, 1000 watts. That's why we are using this, actually. I put some often used figures together into a table, and something which we will use quite a lot is 59. If you give a report, 59, 59. This is what you will use in a QSO. And then, of course, if you say goodbye, you will say 60 plus 13, 73, 73. In Belgium and in Switzerland, they will say 70 plus 3, 73. Yeah, 73. And if you meet a YL or an XYL, 88, that will be 88. 4 multiplied by 20 plus 8, 88. So 90 in Belgium, they will say for 90 also. We have 90 in Belgium and in Switzerland, they will probably say 90. And one thing special is 1. If you say 1 in French, 1, ou 11, 11, 11, into a QSO, especially if the signal is not too strong and if there is a lot of QRM, like in a contest or so, they will have difficulties to understand. So that's why we say unité. Unité. Unité means one. I'm in JO11, JO11 Romeo Charlie, that's my locator. I would say Juliet Oscar Unité, Unité Romeo Charlie, which makes it much more understandable when there is a lot of QRM. And I think Mike would say Delta Lima Unité Bravo Juliet Whiskey. So that would be another practice of that. So in order to have some practice, we will try to play with that and share another file with a with an exercise. Yeah, voila. We will have an exercise on numbers, and if anyone is trying or willing to volunteer, because how does it work? We will try to exchange numbers in a pileup or in a contest. Between the brackets is in a contest, so we can probably exercise the contest, because then we will have all the figures that we can use in such a contest. Yellow is what you have to ask. So if you participate now in this exercise, you have to answer with the yellow parts, and I will call CQ for a contest. So I don't see anyone. So maybe Nick will help me to see if there are any volunteers there in the room which are willing to participate in that exercise, Nick. So I give it to you for a moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeff. Do we have any volunteers who want to just take part in that exercise with Jeff in French? Yes, go ahead, Colin.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, Colin. Here I go. Appel concours de ON8 Novembre Tango.
Oscar November 8 Novembre Tango. Ici Golf 6 Mike X-Ray Lima. Golf 6 Mike X-Ray Lima. QSL?
Ok, QSL, Golf 6 Mike X-Ray Lima, de ON8 Novembre Tango. Vous êtes 59 034. 59 034 en Juliette Oscar Unité Romeo Charlie. QSL?
QSL, très bien. ON8 Novembre Tango, vous êtes 59 00 unité en India Oscar 80 X-Ray Romeo. India Oscar 80 X-Ray Romeo. QSL?
Oui, QSL. Merci pour le 001 en Italie Oscar 80 X-Ray Romeo. 73 73 QRZ de ON8 Novembre Tango. Voilà.
Well done, Colin.
Well, very well done. Yeah.
Merci.
Anyone else?
Any other volunteers to do that with Jeff? Everyone's hiding now. Camera's being turned off. Microphone's disconnected.
Go on, Jeff, I'll do it if you like.
Go ahead.
Go
Go ahead.
Ken.
I will. Yeah. Appel concours de ON8 Novembre Tango. Oscar Novembre 8 Novembre Tango. CQ appel concours.
ON8 November Tango. Ici Golf 4, Victor, Zanzibar, Victor.
Ok, Golf 4, Victor Zulu Victor, de ON8 Novembre Tango. Vous êtes 57 en Juliet d'Oscar, 57, excusez-moi, 035 en Juliet Oscar, unité Romeo Charlie. QSL?
QSL, Oscar November 8, November Tango, Golf 4, Victor, Zanzibar, Victor. Signal is 59, 59 y 001 on India Oscar 9 3 India Kilo. QSL?
Oui, ok, merci. Merci pour le 59001 unité en India Oscar 93 India Kilo. 73 QRZ de ON8 Novembre Tango. Voilà, donc c'est la première. This is the first exercise. So sorry. This is the first exercise. So now, and the second phase, we are going through the, and I'm going to the other document sharing. We are going to the other document, yeah. And what we are now going to do is, actually, we are going to the different phases and a QSO, just they are not into detail. And I put 4 and 5, which goes to the sources. And actually, it's taken from the Practical Wireless articles on making QSOs in French from 1993. And there are much more sentences that you can get there. So I just took the most frequent, the most logical, the most used sentences, and I will go through there. Of course, maybe that's not the first thing that you will do if you are starting learning speaking French and the QSO, that is starting the QSO yourself. You probably will answer to a French guy who is calling CQ. And actually, one of the tips that I can give is you can start in English, and maybe in the very last phase of the QSO, when you say goodbye 73s and QSLing and so on, maybe throw in some French sentences. This is maybe a good start to do, a good strategy to do in the beginning, so that you will get some more self-confidence to speak that French language. Another thing is, don't be shy. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. No problem at all. You can always change back to English, and the guy will be very happy that at least you made some effort to speak his language. So the first sentence is, est-ce que cette fréquence est occupée ou libre? Is the frequency in use, And then we are making a call, so you will not do that in the beginning either, but you will reply to a call. So I put here a strange DX call, Charlie 9 Zulu Bravo, ici ON8 Novembre Tango, qui vous appelle, ou qui répond à votre appel. Et puis, you will answer, and you will probably give more or less the same things like I would give to you. The report, vous êtes 59, 5 et 9, on peut dire ça aussi, you can say that also. And then some other things about interference and so on. Le prénom de l'opérateur, c'est Jeff. Le prénom de l'opérateur, c'est Ken. La location, c'est Alter. Dans mon cas, je suis à peu près à 20 km de Bruges. But this is already too much detail. So in the beginning, you will not give that much detail. Then, of course, the working conditions. L'équipement ici est une IC 9600. So my rig is an ICOM IC 7300. Mon antenne est une dipole à trappe, une Yagi à 10 éléments avec polarisation horizontale, verticale, ou c'est une longue fil. Donc, there are different variations that you can use here, and you can probably, in that article from Practical Wireless, you will find much more examples of antennas and with the French translation next to that. Something about the weather, you will always talk something about the weather. Aujourd'hui, il fait beau, il y a du soleil, froid, chaud, du brouillard, du vent, il pleut, il neige à 30 cm d'épaisseur. C'est printemps, l'été, l'automne est arrivé, il fait un orage, il a fait des tonnerres et des éclairs. This is what happened here today. We had a lot of rain and we had a lot of winds and thunder and lightning. Donc, il a fait un orage, il a fait du tonnerre et des éclairs. The working conditions, so if you talk about the working conditions, the propagation, so to say, les conditions du travail sont pauvres, mauvaises, modérées, bon, etc. There is an opening on 2 meters, il y a une éclaircie sur 2 mètres. Hein? Very useful, excuse my French. So this is probably one of the 2 sentences that you would like to remember very well. Excuse mon français, Pouvons-nous continuer en anglais? Can we continue in English? Pouvons-nous continuer en anglais? And then at the end of the QSL, there are different phrases there that you can use. Puis-je vous remercier encore une fois pour cet appel? Je vous souhaite une bonne journée, meilleurs souhaits pour vous et les vôtres, and so on. So, and of course, the famous QSL, we can ask for a QSL. Veuillez m'envoyer votre carte QSL. And you can say, well, I will send you a card. Je vous enverrai ma carte QSL par le bureau directement, and so on. So now we are going to go again to an exercise, trying to make a QSO in French, and that's that document again. Yeah, we go to the second exercise. And by the way, I will drop that document into the message box here of Zoom. Donc, voilà, Nick, I will ask again if you could look for some volunteers here to make a QSO. So what I will do, I will call CQ, and you will answer the yellow parts. So I put that, I put the yellow parts are for you. So we are trying to make a QSO and to French, a very short basic QSO with just basic things. You can leave things out, or I can leave things out if you would like to do that. But anyway, are there any volunteers there who wants to try a QSO in French? Don't be shy and don't be afraid to make any mistakes. That's no problem at all.
Yes, go on, Adriana.
Okay, Adriana. There I go. Est-ce que cette fréquence est libre? OK. Appel général ici ON8 novembre Tango. ON8 novembre Tango qui appelle CQ et qui reste à l'écoute.
Delta Lima 8, Bravo Delta Tango, ici qui vous appelle.
OK, Delta Lima 8, Delta Bravo Tango, de ON8, Novembre Tango. Vous êtes 59. Le prénom ici est Jeff, comme Juliette Echo Foxtrot. Et le QTH, c'est Alter, comme Alpha Alpha Lima Tango Echo Romeo. Delta Lima 8, Delta Bravo Tango, de ON8, Novembre Tango. À vous.
Si, Delta Lima 8, Bravo Delta Tango, vous êtes 59. Le prénom de l'opérateur est Adriane. Alpha Delta Romeo India Alpha Novembre Echo. La location est Oldenburg, comme Oscar Lima Delta Echo Novembre Bravo Unité Romeo Golf. Oscar November 8 November Tango de Delta Lima 8 Bravo Delta Tango à vous.
OK, Delta Lima 8, Delta Bravo Tango, de ON8 Novembre Tango. Merci Adriana pour toutes ces infos. L'équipement ici est une ICOM IC 7300. Mon antenne est une antenne mobile sur le balcon. Aujourd'hui, il pleut. Delta Lima 8, Delta Bravo Tango, de ON8 Novembre Tango, à vous.
Si, Oscar November 8 November Tango de Delta Lima 8 Bravo Delta Tango. L'équipement ici est une Zygo G90. Mon antenne est une long fil. Aujourd'hui, il pleut aussi. Oscar November 8 November Tango de Delta Lima 8 Bravo Delta Tango à vous.
OK, Delta Lima 8, Bravo Delta Tango, ici 8 Novembre Tango. Puis-je vous remercier encore une fois pour cet appel, Adriana. Veuillez m'envoyer votre carte QSL 73 et 88.
Oscar November 8, November Tango de Delta Lima 8, Bravo Delta Tango. Je vous souhaite une bonne journée. Je vous enverrai ma carte QSL par le bureau 73.
Okay, that went very well, Adriana. Thank you very much. Yeah, great. So this is really a basic USO, you know. Anyone else who wants to give it a try?
Jeff, just one tip for people watching this is some of the things that Adriana had to think about for a second were what her radio was and what it was in French. So it's
Yeah,
probably worth jotting that down, just a few of the things, particularly with numbers in it, that, you know, 73 you can remember, 59 you can remember, 59 you can remember. It's a bit more difficult to suddenly think my radio's an ICOM 7300. How do
yeah,
I say
yeah,
that? And it's
yeah,
probably worthwhile just making a note in that language of what your radio is and what your antenna is, so that when you and in the earlier example you gave, when you were looking at giving locators, of perhaps writing down the numbers for the locator along with the letters as well. So just as an aid memoir for yourself in the
yeah,
QSO, Jeff.
yeah, yeah. I will distribute that document, and you can print it out and put that for yourself. I can distribute the Word document so that you can adapt to your own personal needs. That's maybe the best thing to do.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Right, who else wants to have a go? Thank you, Adriana. I think it's got to be Colin again. You did a good go on the first one, Colin. Let's have a whole QSO out of you.
Okay, right. Where are we?
Est-ce que cette fréquence est libre? Appel général, ici au N8 Novembre Tango, Oscar Novembre 8, Novembre Tango qui appelle CQ et qui reste à l'écoute.
Oscar November 8, November Tango. Ici, Golf 6, Mike X-Ray Lima qui vous appelle.
OK, Golf 6, Mike X-Ray Lima, Golf 6, Mike X-Ray Lima, de ON8 Novembre Tango. Vous êtes 54. Vous êtes 54. Le prénom de l'opérateur, c'est Jeff. Juliet Echo Foxtrot. Et la location est Alter, Alpha Alpha Lima Tango Echo Romeo. Golf 6 Mike X-Ray Lima de ON8 Novembre Tango. À vous.
Merci. ON8 Novembre Tango de Golf 6 Mike X-Ray Lima. Vous êtes 59. Le prénom de l'opérateur est Colin. Charlie Oscar Lima India Novembre. La location, c'est Poole. Poole, j'habite à Poole. Papa Oscar Oscar Lima Echo. ON8 Novembre Tango de Golf 6 Mike X-Ray Lima. À vous.
OK. Golf 6 Mike X-Ray Lima is de ON8 Novembre Tango. Merci Colin pour ces infos. L'équipement ici est une ICOM IC 7300. Mon antenne est une antenne mobile sur le balcon. Aujourd'hui, il pleut. Golf 6 Mike X-Ray Lima de ON8 Novembre Tango. À vous, Colin.
Merci beaucoup, Jeff. Golf ON8 de Golf ON8 Novembre Tango de Golf 6 Mike X-Ray Lima. L'équipement ici est un Kenwood TS 2000X. Mon antenne est une dipole. Aujourd'hui, il fait beau temps avec un peu de pluie. ON8 Novembre Tango de Golf 6 Mike X-Ray Lima. À vous.
OK, merci Colin. Très bien, le Kenwood là. Golf 6 Mike X-Ray Lima de ON8 Novembre Tango. Puis je vous remercie encore une fois pour cet appel. Veuillez m'envoyer votre carte QSL, s'il vous plaît. 73 au plaisir.
ON8 Novembre Tango de Golf 6 Mike X-Ray Lima. Je vous souhaite une bonne journée et je vous enverrai ma carte de QSL par le bureau. 73, Jeff. 73.
73, au revoir. Voilà. So that's the second the second person who made a try. That went very well.
Well done,
Actually,
Colin.
also.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Very, very good.
Okay. Anyone else, or are we going to Spanish?
Anyone else want to try a QSO in French? Don't be shy. Jeff, that was very well done, and hopefully, I mean, I know. Let's just step back a second, Jeff, before we move on to Ken. A lot of people get nervous speaking into a microphone on the radio anyway, in their own language, let alone trying to do it in another language. And don't be worried about it. And I think, Jeff, you and I have been radio amateurs for a long time. If someone is obviously either new to the hobby or new to the language or struggling a bit, I don't mind at all. I just like the fact I'm having a QSO with someone. And if they're doing it in your language, even better, don't you think?
It opens doors.
Mm.
It opens doors, and you get friends all over the world actually by speaking some other languages. That's absolutely true. By the way, maybe that's something different. I know a British amateur who is living in Brussels. He's working with one of the international institutions. He has a beautiful station, really, a 5-element beam, a fantastic station with amplifiers and so on and so on. But he is afraid to speak. He is microphone shy, which is even more. So he has everything, and he has never been on the air, actually. I once visited him, and yeah, that's strange. I really, really find strange. Don't be afraid to speak, even in your own language. I know people who are shy to speak in their own language here on 2 meters who rarely are active. No, don't be shy. And even in another language, don't be afraid. They will not kill you. In the end, it's a hobby. So don't bother about that.
Yes, I'm one of those rare people, Jeff, when I've been on holiday and I've talked to people on the radio near to where I'm staying, I've ended up going to see those people sometimes.
Yeah.
So when I was camping in France many years ago, my children were quite young. We were on the Brittany coast, and with my old Yaesu 290, I'd been having single sideband QSOs into the Channel Islands from the campsite. Wonderful. And then one day I heard a very, very loud French station on single sideband 2 meters, and I called him. And he turned out to live about 1 kilometer from the campsite where I was staying. So I invited myself and the family to go down to meet him and his wife. No one would come, so I went by myself. They all said, we're not going to go. This could be someone very strange, Nick. So I went down and I spent a very, very enjoyable several hours with one of his friends, persuading him to open the wine cellar to get out one of his decent bottles of red wine for us to share. And we talked about amateur radio. I made some contacts from his station. He was a VHF only operator on sideband and FM, and had a master with antennas on the top. So I had a very enjoyable QSOs with various French radio amateurs, none of whom, by the way, apart from one, spoke English. And then we enjoyed some wine. And he was also part of a French folk group, and he played the accordion. So he got his accordion out and played me his accordion as well. And his wife produced some food as well. So I had a wonderful few hours. My family were very concerned about me. This was before we all had mobile phones. what had happened to me? Where had I gone? Were they going to see me again? I've been watching too many dramas on television, and of course I came back, having had a very, very pleasant few hours. So those sorts of things stick in your mind, don't they? When you make real contact with people in other countries, that just makes it come together in this wonderful hobby that we share, Jeff. So I agree with you. Just always give it a try.
And you probably work that rare digs, which is
Indeed.
another advantage.
Yeah.
Much more easier.
Yeah. So yeah, and we were saying as well, those of you here that were in the lesson given by the Long Island CW Club a few weeks ago about learning Morse code, and one of the big things that they've done in their teaching of CW is telling people to listen for kind of patterns of sound, and but not to worry if you miss something. So if you hear something and you didn't quite get what it was, don't worry about it. Just carry on listening, and you'll pick up other bits and pieces. And it's the same in a foreign language. It's quite possible that either you will make a mistake and Jeff would ask you to repeat it because you didn't quite understand what you were saying, or Jeff will come back and say something else and you'll wonder what it was he's just said because he thinks you speak some French and therefore he's going to speak in French with you. And I would say to you, don't worry about it. In exactly the same way as the CW tutors were saying, don't worry, because if you carry on doing this, you will learn more and more and you'll get more comfortable and you'll find it easier. And that's the same thing, isn't it, Jeff? It's about the thing about languages, it's about regularly practicing them. And one of the great things we've got in this hobby is the ability to practice those languages on the air with people from those countries. If we
for free. Yeah, for free. Because if you want to follow some courses or some, summer courses, summer camps and so on, you pay a lot of money. But you can have daily QSOs in whatever language that you like.
Yeah, Ian 2E0 ISD is on YouTube watching this tonight, and he's just said, "Hi Jeff, when giving the numbers of my radio, the Kenwood TS590 Zulu, do I say 590 or do I say 590?"
The two are okay. The two are okay. If you are uncertain, 590 will do. And otherwise, 590 is okay too. The two are okay. Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah, we would do the same in English, wouldn't we? Between ourselves as English speakers, we might say I've got the ICOM 7300, or you might say I've got the ICOM 7300, perhaps. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'd still know what the radio was you had there.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Ian. Anyone else? Any questions to Jeff before we pass the micro? But not do it because you're the Spanish speaker, Ken. We're going to pass the microphone to Ken, who at the present time, of course, is not in Alicante. He's in South Yorkshire. Over to you, Ken.
Yeah, you can hear me okay?
Yeah. Right. 59.
59, mince, perfect. Okay, well, my introduction is obviously Spanish. I've just come back from Spain, and because I go over there a lot and do a lot of mixing with the Spanish people, I tried to pick it up quickly. My background is that I did learn Spanish at college when I was 45 years old. I just went to college to learn Spanish, and I picked it up since then. Just a quick pointer here. One of the advantages, I'll give you an advantage with learning a foreign language, and this is particularly noticeable, is that I can pick up odd stuff in French, but I know we're talking about Spanish, but in French. And when I go on the radio in the morning, long path, listening for DX from the Pacific, I quite often listen to French-speaking stations. And when I know that there's no skip to France, then the other place that it is the Pacific Islands. And recently I picked up a Foxtrot Kilowatt 4 station from New Caledonia, listening to him and giving his call sign in French. Okay, basic QSO in Spanish. Thank you, Jeff. That was excellent, but I'm going to go down a much simpler route, and that is keep it very short and very simple. And that's what that KISS stands for. And the reason I'm doing this is because learning another language is quite daunting, I must say. And there's always a fear element that you think, who's listening to me speaking in this foreign language? And the thing that's more daunting is not the Spanish man or the French man, it's the ones who are living close to you, who are probably hearing you on ground wave and probably thinking, who's this? So there's a little fear element there. The other thing that I was going to mention, you need to be a little bit careful how much, and I think Jeff covered this, how much you go into the language, because the more you say, the more you're inviting the foreign station to speak the native language and speak it rapidly. And as you all know, Spanish can be rather a fast, a very quick language. And my final point is that if you're going to speak Spanish and you can tell that the operator at the other end is a fairly elderly gentleman, then the older gentlemen tend to come from the Franco era and have never learnt English. So if you do try to speak in Spanish, you will certainly get lots of thanks and from the Spanish operator, because they obviously just cannot speak English, a lot of them. So, and they go out their way to really help you and speak slowly. And if you do come across someone that's very rapid in the Spanish, then there are certain phrases that you can use, like, for example, más despacio, por favor, which means please speak slowly for me. Más despacio, por favor. And you can also say that you speak Spanish a little. For example, hablo español un poco. So you're basically telling them that, you can only speak Spanish a little bit. So that's the key for them to keep it low key and also talk slowly. Más despacio, por favor. Okay, let's go on to this. What I've done is I've put a very simple QSO together, basically on the same lines as what Jeff has done, but I've just kept it very simple. So, for example, I've numbered the different sections of it. So on the first one, it will be for a general call, which would be something in the similar to CQ, but in this case it's CQ. Esta es Granada. I always use the call sign giving phonetics. For example, Granada 4. There's the number 4. Valencia, so that's the name of a city. And then Zaragoza, and then Valencia again. So you get Granada 4, Valencia, Zaragoza, Valencia. Escucha, meaning listening, on la frecuencia. So that would be CQ, Granada 4, Valencia, Zaragoza, Valencia, escucha on la frecuencia. Para un contacto means for any contacts. And then I made this up. So, for example, the second point is EA5 Alpha Bravo Charlie would reply. So EA5 ABC would give the call, and then I would carry on the third part by saying Echo Alpha 5, number 5, Alpha Bravo Charlie, Esta es Granada 4, Valencia, Zaragoza, Valencia. And then the simple way to say your name, mi nombre es Ken. Could say that phonetically. Kilo Echo Noviembre, or just Ken. Y, the letter E, the letter Y stands for and mi QTH, QTH es Sheffield. And then on norte de Inglaterra, that means in the north of England. 10, the number 10, 10 kilómetros este la ciudad de Sheffield. What I'm saying there is I'm 10 kilometers east of the city of Sheffield. And then on point number 4, EA5 ABC would answer by saying the following. He would give his name and his QTH, for example, mi nombre es Juan. My name is Juan, Juan. Similar in English would be John. Mi QTH es 15 kilómetros. 15 is the number 15. 15 kilómetros sur south de Murcia. So he's in Echo Alpha 5 area, and which covers Murcia. Okay, and then on to the next bit.
Ken, before we do that, shall we see if we've got anyone wants
Yeah.
to try a CQ call in Spanish,
Yeah,
maybe, to
we
start
can
it
do
off?
that. Yeah.
Anyone? Colin's shaking his head already. Anyone wants to try a CQ call in Spanish?
Yeah, I'll try.
Yes, go on, Adriana, go on.
Okay, I'll call then, and you follow as if you're the EA5 station, Adrian.
Mhm.
Is that okay? Okay. Sigo, esta es Granada 4, Valencia, Zaragoza, Valencia. Escucha on la frecuencia por un contacto.
Delta Lima 8, Bravo Delta Tango.
Echo Alpha 8,
Also,
Bravo Delta Tango. Esta es Granada 4, Valencia, Zaragoza, Valencia. Mi nombre es Ken y mi QTH es Sheffield. On el norte de Inglaterra, 10 kilómetros este de la ciudad de Sheffield.
Delta Lima 8, Bravo Delta Tango. Es aquí. Il nombre es Adriana, Alfa Delta Romeo India Alfa Noviembre Echo, y la QTH es Oldenburg, en norte de Alemania, 15 kilómetros sur del Mar del Norte. Sí.
Okay, thank you. That covers that first bit, Nick.
Okay, thank you very much, Ken, and thank you, Adriana.
Okay, if we go on to the second bit now, similar to like what Jeff did in French, I'm going to do the station and describe the station. I'll put that as Adrian now. I don't know if you want to carry on doing this little bit, Adrian, but instead of Juan, I'll say Adrian. So, Adrian, muchas gracias por información. So that's basically saying thank you very much for the information. And then you could then reply with the third line down.
muy bien para información. Mi equipment aquí es ICOM 7800 transceiver y 3 element delta loop 25 metros de altura.
Correct. Yeah, thank you. Muchas gracias información, Adrian. My equipment here is, for example, you said ICOM 7800 7800 transceiver and 3-element delta loop, 3-element delta loop at 25 meters high. That's what you said there, which is, yeah, straightforward again. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Adriana, your neighbours would have something to say about a 3-element delta loop 25 meters high in your back garden.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Thank you. On the next slide, Ken.
Yes, please. Okay, so that's what you said to me, Adrian, about your 3-element delta loop at about 90 foot high in the air. But here's my reply, or I'm going to give you a reply here, which is, Adrian, my conditions de trabajo, my working conditions, they say conditions of work. That's how the Spanish do it. They seem to do it back to front. Conditions of work. Mi conditions de trabajo es Kenwood transceiver TS 500 590 590 590 y potencia and power. So that's your output power. Y potencia 100 watts. Mi antena es una dipolo. Dipolo, that should say dipolo, but I put dipole there. Dipolo. Aproximadamente 15 metros, 15 meters, above my garden. Which is what I put there in the paragraph below. So that's my reply in relation to the working conditions. Next slide, Nick, please. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll come back here to you now, Adrian. I put Juan, but it's Adrian. Adrian, double X. Now that's the way to pronounce W and X. Double X. Aquí, here. Cerca means close to. The WX aquí, cerca de Sheffield, close to Sheffield, as bien, or I put / bien. So you could say that WX aquí, cerca de Sheffield, is good or no good. Temperatura es 18. 10 and 8 is 18. That's how they say it. 10 and 8. Temperatura is ES 18 grados. That's their way of saying Celsius. 18 degrees Celsius, but they say 18 grados. Mucho. Now that put again nublar, which means cloudy, lluvia, rain, and not mucho sol, it should say. Basically 18 degrees and mucho nublar or lluvia, or and no mucho sol, meaning there's not much sun. Esta es normalmente. This is normal for my QTH in verano or in verano. Right, verano is summer, in verano is winter. So I would be saying, esta es normalmente. I'm having a little bit of fun with the Spanish guy or with the person I'm talking to. Esta es. This is normal para mi QTH on verano or in verano. So this is normal for my location in summer or winter. So that's how I would reply that. And then where it says Ken on the third paragraph down is where you would say your reply to me. I know you're not in Mercia, but you could say the similar thing there. You could come back and say, Ken, double X on your location is fantastico. I used Murcia because Murcia is one of the hottest places in Spain. Double X on Murcia es fantástico. It is fantastic. Hoy, meaning today. Tengo mucho sol. Today, I have much sun. It's saying today we have lots of sun. Y, again, and temperatura es mucho calor. That should be calor, C-A-L-O-R. It's calor. So temperatura es mucho calor, mucho hot. 37 C, you would say 30 is 30 plus your 7. 37 grados. 37 grados. And then I would then be saying, Adrian, amigo on Inglaterra, double X es mucho frío. So you would your reply there would be, Ken, my friend in England, WX is very cold. So that's covering like the weather. So I've kept it pretty simple up to now. We've introduced ourselves. We've then said where we're located, the station equipment, the weather. And then we can bring it to the next slide, Nick. And this is where we would end the QSO. So instead of saying Juan, I'll call that Adrian. Adrian, muchas gracias. Many thanks por contacto hoy. For the contact today. Hoy meaning today. Tú eres. You are mi primero estación para un contacto en Ciudad de Murcia. You are my first station. You are my first contact in the city of Murcia. Juan or Adrian, bueno días. If in your case, it would be amiga. Amigo is for the man. So if I'm talking to you, it would be Adrian, bueno días, good días, amiga, on 20, that's 20 in Spanish, on 20 metros band. Adrian y mi QSL para ti, for you, is via the bureau. Bueno fin de semana. Good weekend. I'm talking to you as if we're coming to the weekend. Bueno fin de semana y hasta luego. There are many ways to sign off in Spanish. You could say hasta pronto, hasta luego. There's many ways of doing it, but the most popular one is hasta luego. See you, mi amiga, because you're female, remember. So I'm talking to you as you are the female. So if it was Juan, it would be mi amigo. And then you would reply back basically the same way as I've done with you now. I don't know if there's another slide, and I can't remember, to be honest with you, Nick.
Nick, you have to unmute.
You're right. Sorry, I was coughing and wanted not to cough over everyone. Yeah, Adriana, do you want to try giving the weather report there from you to Ken?
The weather report. Oh,
You want to go back one slide, I think,
one slide.
for that.
That was the one before, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Ken.
Do you want me to do the first bit and then you reply?
Yeah.
Okay, Adrián, X aquí, cerca de Sheffield es bien. Temperatura es 10, temperatura es 18 grados y mucho sol. Mucho sol. Esta es normalmente para mi QTH en verano. That is normal for my QTH in summer. Adrián, over to you now, and you reply on the third paragraph down.
Ken double X en Oldenburg es non fantastico. Temperatura es 10 grados y mucho nublar. Esta es normalmente para mi QTH en norte de Alemania.
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastico, Adrián. Perfecto. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you,
I got what you
Adriana.
said there, 10 degrees and cloudy. So
Yeah, well done. Very, very, very good.
That's good. So basically that is I think the end of the slides. And it's just a very basic way of having a QSO in Spanish, but the key to it is, remember, slow them down if you have to. Más despacio, por favor, speak slowly. Or say, hablo español un poco. It's one or the other, and then that'll slow them down. 73, 73s. 73, amiga. And back to you, Nick.
Ken, what's 88 in Spanish?
Ocho. Or you can say 88. I think 88 is the more favorite.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, Ken, for that very simple introduction there. Andy, 2E0REE on the YouTube channel just says hello to everybody, and hope you're enjoying it, Andy, this evening. Ken, that was very good. Jeff has put in the notes on the chat here tonight, the exercise for hams in a Word file, so that you can print it off yourself at home before you try making that reply to a French station calling CQ or a Belgian station calling CQ in French. You've got the note in front of you, literally you can read it out. If that helped you get by those first QSOs, I reckon, and the same would apply for you, Ken, using your document there if people were just to write out very simply their reply, that would be a great help. If you look back to the original Radio Amateurs conversation guide that's in the notes that I put out right at the beginning, you can download those off the chat here. And as I said earlier, so those of you, quite a large audience now on YouTube, if you're watching us tonight and you'd like a copy of the documents that we produced alongside this today, which include a copy of the Radio Amateurs Conversation Guide produced in 1980 by Jukka OH1BR with assistance from Laurie Margolis, G3UML. That's in a pack of documents we've got, along with the slides, both in French and Spanish for tonight. If anyone watching on YouTube would like a copy of those, just go to the Pennine Ham website, pennineham.org.uk. You'll see our email address there. Email us and we will send you the documents by return if you're interested. So please do make contact with us. Ken, Jeff, that was very, very good. I'm just going to stop sharing. Well done, everybody, for the taking part there. That was great. And I hope people found that useful. Before we say good night to the viewers on YouTube and those who are watching the video, did everyone find they'd learnt a bit from tonight, to get a bit of encouragement to give this a try? Which of you is bold enough to admit you're prepared to give this a try one day in either French or Spanish? Reply to a French station calling CQ or a Spanish station. Henry and Amanda, well done, brilliant. Well, I'll tell you what I'd like certainly members of the club here to do, and this would apply to our listeners on YouTube as well. If you do follow what we've been talking about tonight and look at some of the suggested words for a QSO that Jeff and Ken gave, or indeed looked in the bigger document, the Radio Amateur Conversation Guide, where they've got quite a lot of some of them quite complex sentences, and possibly a language, because it was what was used 40 years ago, is probably a bit different from spoken language nowadays in France and Spain and other parts of the world, and the UK actually, in the book that was produced 40 years ago. But if anyone does have a go at using this, do send us a message back and let us know how you got on and what kind of response you got from stations you made contact with. I'm pretty certain that anyone in this room and those watching us on YouTube and watching the video later in the week, if you have a go at having a QSO in French or Spanish, I am certain that you will get a lot of praise from the amateur you're talking to. And nowadays, you're as likely to get a QSL card by email as anything else. You might even get a video recording of the QSO. I keep getting them on CW now from CW operators who are taking recordings of contacts and sending them to you shortly after the QSO, which is rather nice. It's quite nice to hear it from someone else's perspective. So if anyone does get as far as someone sending them back a recording of them responding to a call in their language, do let us know. It will be wonderful. So thank you, everybody. Jeff and Ken, any final words from you two before we call it a day on YouTube and on the video?
I would say, don't be afraid to have a go. Basically, what you've just said there, Nick, and a good example of it, and I think I explained this to Nick earlier, that a good example on 2 meters, VHF of all places, when we get sporadic key, and I know that the sporadic key is coming in the direction from Spain, and I can hear the Spanish beacons, I then am sat ready, like literally ready at the radio with the microphone, even on standby. And if I get just a whisper of a Spanish station, I will go back in Spanish. And that happened last year, I believe, in the middle of summer. And there were some local stations here in IO90, in IN93 square, and they didn't, I have to say, they didn't have a prayer. because I went back to this Spanish guy muy rapido, very quickly, and gave my call sign. And he came straight back to me straight away, and another one, and then another one. And it's only because you're helping them by, I mean, they must think, oh, an Englishman speaking Spanish straight in. So even on VHF, it can work as good. And I know that Jeff will definitely agree on that point. So have a go. It's a bit daunting, but have a go.
Yeah, I agree on that. And I think for you guys in the UK, there are quite a lot contests on VHF, UHF from France. So if you can catch, if the conditions are right, you can catch some stations in France, and that's quite easy, I think. Another thing that I definitely will try, I will look into Spanish, because this summer the sporadic key season is coming, and 6 meters and 4 meters, especially from here, and I think also from the UK. I think you have a direct connection to Spain. So and my experience is that a lot of operators on 6 meters, Spanish operators, are rarely speaking English, or sometimes French actually, but rarely speaking English or another language. So I think it's a good way to have contacts with Spain on 6 meters and sporadic key. And I think they're also organizing some 6 meter contests on 6 meters. So if you know the numbers, you can give some points and have some work some new locators maybe. So yeah, I will definitely try to do that.
Well,
Something
Ken
new
and
on the to-do list.
Ken and Jeff, thank you very much indeed for your little lesson tonight. And I hope our viewers on YouTube have enjoyed it as much as we did in the room. And on that, I'm going to say a very good evening to our YouTube listeners. Thank you for joining us tonight. Do come back again, and do please make contact if you would like the PDF document with all the various articles we were talking about, all contained in one place. 73s, 73, j'espère.
Au plaisir.
Rencontrer un autre jour sur la radio. Bonsoir tout le monde. This is Pennine Ham signing off for this week. Thank you very much.
Buenas noches.
Bonne nuit.